Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. My guest here is Nancy Guberti. She is a practitioner of functional medicine and bionutrition. She's here to help us navigate the Obamacare plans, and also she's going to tell us how to work with our healthcare providers under this Obamacare. So join me in welcoming Nancy. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you're here because most of our viewers might really want to know what's there under the Obamacare, especially when they've signed up for health insurance under the Obamacare Act. They'll find that they can no longer use their regular physician or any other doctor, mainly because those doctors did not sign up under this plan.
Exactly.
So you're going to let us know how we can navigate all this.
Exactly. So there's a lot of fear with that, and I think people, when they are fearful of something new, they panic. So what I would like to recommend is not to get to that stage. Instead, do your research. So if you have changed insurance companies, even if you haven't yet, find out if you're working for someone, are they going to change? And then if you're self-employed, do you have to go to this Obamacare? And if you are, ask your practitioner, are they going to stay with them? If not, go onto the plan and pick a primary physician. And
so they should not really panic that their particular doctors are not under this plan, because there are other doctors signed up, right?
Exactly.
And maybe this is a good time to try those.
Right. So humans don't like change, right? And maybe they feel like
they want to stay in their comfort zone.
Exactly. But it doesn't mean that that comfort zone or that cocoon is actually the best one, right? So by being forced out of that comfort zone, you might realize, wow, this is better. And it's okay. So I really advise that they go see a primary physician under the new care and make an appointment, have a consult, have a checkup, and then ask and be educated and learn, am I getting even more with this physician? And is it covered? And if it's free and all that stuff. So again, that'll take away the fear.
I see.
So that's where I say partner with the medical practitioner under the care. Otherwise, what are your options? The other options are what you're going to go and stay with the previous doctor and have to pay them out of pocket. And perhaps sometimes it's good to get a different opinion and a fresh start. So again, it's just removing the fear. And perhaps you'll actually meet a practitioner who does conventional medicine as well as some alternative medicine. For instance, if you're going to a cardiologist and they're not just prescribing medicines, but they're saying, hey, why don't you look into fish oils? There's a study here. Or you could go to your doctor, and if you're into that, your new physician, and say, are you into this as well? So that's where you could start this new relationship.
So we need to do our own research and exploration.
100%.
Call up all the doctors under the plan and try to talk to them first.
Exactly, and go visit the office and see where the chemistry is. Where do you feel a connection? And then meet with the doctor and find out how accessible is the doctor. What labs do they use? What are the changes? And again, once you're educated, you're empowered, and you're not fearful anymore, as opposed to saying, let Congress decide, or you heard from your friends, because every case is unique. So there are some individuals that could never retire because they needed health care coverage. It was too expensive to go out, retire, and pay for it on their own. They're finding out now this is affordable, and they're covered, and they can retire for whatever reason, either start a startup company or just relax. Maybe they're not feeling too good. but get that research and be your own health advocate. And then for ones that are really dead set against change, well then find out what's available for you. Are you going to do concierge? Are you going to pay 2 different plans?
What is that? What is going concierge?
So some doctors are not going with Obamacare, and instead, and they're not taking any
and it's
insurance.
not just the doctors, right? It's the medical practice that they belong to.
A network,
it's like a group.
Exactly.
A group where they have the billing and administration taken
They do
care of.
everything, and they're saying, we're not going to take any insurance. So if you want to see me going forward, you're either going to pay me monthly as a retainer or yearly. And then if you want to do lab work or if it's an extended visit, it's going to be even more money. And they're going to want your credit card up front. Or they'll open up a credit card for you, but you know, I've had clients come in that say, look, I have a bill of $9,000, and every single time I call, they billed the credit card. I can't pay, and my credit is getting destroyed. Nice. So you really want to know what you're getting yourself into. Don't sign anything at one of these other plans. And then there's some doctors that just take cash and per visit. So you have to see what.
And this is outside of the insurance.
Outside of the insurance. Either way, you know, you want to make sure you get an itemized bill. So if you're going to a lab that doesn't take your insurance, if you're going to a practitioner that doesn't take your insurance, get an itemized bill so you can see, can you process
still
it?
Still submit it to your insurance.
Why not?
And see how you can.
And if not,
paid.
Keep it for the medical deductions at the end of the year. But keep track of it.
Through your HSA account.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you really want to educate yourself, and the information is out there. There's a lot on the internet. You have to watch who's writing it. Is it a political person? Is it a political group? Is it one of these insurance companies? Is it a billing company, or is it one of the network of doctors? So you really have to see whose point of view it is. So you might have to read several different articles to get the real information. The best thing is call the insurance company.
That's a wonderful advice. I think people forget that because there's just an information overload for everyone. You know, with their smartphones and with their TVs and their computers, I think they're getting one point of view and not really getting a balanced view. So in order to get that, you have to go to the different sources, get all of their views, and then figure out what's the real story with it.
Exactly. There's always 3 sides to the story. There's this person, that person, and then there's one that kind of goes right in neutral. Yeah. So you want to do your research. And I would ask, you could get the information from colleagues and friends and other business owners if you're a business owner. You could go to your HR department, get everybody's point of view, but then go to the doctor. And if your doctor's not part of the plan anymore, go get the primary physician on the new insurance and call the insurance and write everything down.
Sign up with all the specialists or whoever you need.
Exactly. And try the new person out. You might be pleasantly surprised. And then again, they may actually be mixing conventional and alternative medicine, which is the best of both worlds. And then you might just find conventional medicine under the plan and then have to go outside of network and pay out of pocket for alternative, but again, always get the insurance statements.
So insurance, alternative medical practitioners cannot directly send claims to insurance?
Very few do.
Some do.
I would say maybe 1% do. Very, very few do. And some labs will accept, some won't, because insurance is changing so much. You know, I personally knew a cardiologist that had to get a second job just to keep his office going because
I see why.
Insurance was paying him every 6 to 8 months.
I see.
And he had rent to pay and staff to pay, and he had to operate at night to pay all of these bills.
But I know that when you look at the insurance companies' bills, you know, whatever, they're paying a lot of money. But then if you look at the premiums paid into insurance companies, there's a big gap between the premiums paid in and what they are actually paying out.
Exactly.
Right? So that bulk of the thing is going into a big black hole of administration, and I don't know where it goes.
Could be profit.
And, you know, it's all sucked up at the top. That too.
It's somewhere. You know, like I always say with in New York City with the tolls and bridges, all the money that they pay, why aren't the pavements nice and
clean? Yes, nice.
why
and
are there
smooth.
potholes? When you lose your tires, who do you call? Nobody. You know, same thing with this. Where is it all going? I mean, insurance is a big business.
Yes.
You know, so that's, again, you want to know, because no one's going to say, this is the truth, here's the information, here's your checklist. No. So, you know what? Create your own checklist. Write it down. And then when you don't understand something, write down your question. Make another phone call. So we have to take charge of our health. We have to take charge of everything we do in life. We can't leave it to someone else. We really can't.
What is being done by the alternative medical groups, you know, to gain some respect? You know, do you have to also lobby like the rest of the medical group, like the allopathic group?
You know, there's quacks in every medicine.
Yeah.
So conventional medicine, there's great doctors, there's not so great doctors, right? And alternative or holistic or complementary, there's some that are really out there, and then there's some that are very science-based as well.
Yeah.
So
you have a lot of quacks here, and that's a problem.
Yeah, you can, and that's really, you know, so you want to, again, if you're going alternative, you want to know, why is this being recommended? Does it feel right to you? I always say follow our gut and our intuition. You know, is this non-invasive? Are you going to be charging $10,000 to run so many tests? What tests do I really need? What are we testing for? And then once we get those tests back, what type of treatment plan are you going to do? So you have to go armed with a bunch of questions to your conventional practitioner, your primary physician, and if you go alternative as well. And then it's great if their website has testimonials from other people, but the testimonials need to be real. You know, and that's kind of hard these days, because anyone could type up a testimonial page and say, you know, so-and-so from this state or that country.
Yeah.
You know, it's better. Even videos could be by actors and actresses. So, you know, you want to refer. You hear referrals. Like if you said, oh, where did you get that? Oh, I went down here, down the store. They're great. Or in that place, or the restaurants, you know. Yeah. Go to this place. It's fantastic, right?
But then that's limited in volume. And most people want the big numbers.
Right.
So to hit the big numbers, they go electronic. And what happens is authenticity is gone.
It's gone. You know, when I was a child, our doctor knew all of us. And he knew us all by name. He knew our parents, our grandparents. Yeah. Nowadays, it's like they check at the last minute, yes. You know. So again, you want to develop that relationship.
Yeah. That's one thing I have found. Very often, your doctor really doesn't know your full history, doesn't really know your everything. And unless you, of course, give the doctor all the information, volunteer the information, I think there are very few that really take that extra time and effort to know everything that's going on in your life and whatever's going on in terms of your visits to other specialists or your supplements and your, you know, your alternative medical input here. I think whoever is your primary physician should really know everything, and they should really try to point you in the right direction.
So there's a big disconnect, you know. So I will see individuals, you know, from children all the way into their 80s. And so if a pediatrician recommends a child to me, and then we get permission from the parents to speak to one another, there are very few that actually want to do that conversation, because they're busy, they don't perhaps want to know what's going on, and that's a disconnect. When I have cancer patients, you know, I put together a whole regimen of foods and this and that. I need to know when the chemo is being started, when the radiation is started, and I want to talk to the oncologist. And recently a patient, the oncologist was like, okay, we'll set up an appointment. Never had that happen. And all they said was, I don't know anything. This was just food.
I see.
That's scary. So again, you want to ask, and you made a very good point. Bring all of your past medical history to every single visit. You may not see the same doctor. They may not remember. The charts may be missing information. Always remind them if you're allergic to something. That's where you have to be your own health advocate for your information.
And people, when they're going to this regular doctor or a specialist or a nutritionist or a functional medicine practitioner, they should know who they're going to, and they should know that person's background.
Right.
Should not mistake one for the other.
Exactly. So they should know, it's good to know how long have you been doing this, what's your success rate.
Yeah, what's your background? What do you specialize in? Because someone might be taking care of health, but then it's from a totally different point of view.
Exactly.
And with totally different knowledge and experience.
Right, and then see if they wrote any books, any articles, were they published in any journals, so you could see what are they involved in, read and get their point of view, get into their mindset. Does it match up with yours? And if it doesn't, find another practitioner that does, so you're on the same page, basically. That would be good. And then a specialist, you might say, well, listen, they're a great specialist. So they might not have the best bedside manners, but I want their knowledge and I want their experience. So you have to know it's a give and take. What do we want here from this person, and what are we willing to give up because of their expertise? But you also want to be heard. So that's where the relationship is important. You don't want to have to say, like, if like for instance, you're going to a chiropractor and you're like, just adjust my back, but don't crack my neck, And if they constantly crack the neck, then you have to say, well, I like the way my back feels, but I don't like that, Or if you're going to a doctor and you're saying, I don't want to go on this medicine, I had a really bad reaction, get me out of that whole family of drugs, go into another one. Are they listening? Do they know that you might have a sensitivity to something in that medicine?
Yeah.
And ask to see the pamphlets. Ask to see the inserts, because sometimes they don't know. I was once at a pediatrician and they offered some liquid medicine, and I said, there's corn in there.
Yeah.
And if the child is allergic to corn, that's not a good choice. Go to a compounding pharmacy and ask them to make the medicine minus the corn.
Without the corn. Oh, I see.
So that's important. You have to look at the inserts and always remind them.
So any medicine that we take, we have to really watch what else is there in that particular tablet or that preparation compound.
So if it's pink, or even prenatal vitamins, they have dyes in it. So you could get a prenatal vitamin that doesn't. So always ask for the insert and read it, because they might not know or have the time to.
When do you make that thing? Because the doctor calls in the prescription, you go and pick it up, and then you find out that it has something.
You want to see it beforehand.
So how do we do that? At what point do you ask for it?
If you're in the office, you could say,
the doctor's office.
Yeah, and they'll have a sample. Usually they'll have a sample. Can I read it? Can I get the box? Can I see it? Can we call the company? Otherwise, if they're giving you a prescription for a medicine that you're going to go fill at CVS or whatever, wherever you're going, do a compounding pharmacy. Find a compounding pharmacy local to you. And go there and ask, what type of compounding pharmacy are you? So there are different types of pharmacies.
How do we know who has a compounding pharmacy?
You can Google it. So wherever you live, you could say in this state or this town.
Every pharmacy is not a compounding pharmacy.
No. Not at all. So there's, like one here, one there, and that's it. But then you want to call them and say, so will you offer this without the colors, without the dyes, without the sugar, without, so what are you going to put in there if it has to be liquid suspended? Is it just the medicine? And really inquire so you find out. Because some places are compounding pharmacies, but they say, oh, we'll just ask you, do you want fruit juice or do you want bubblegum flavor? That's not compounding to me. Compounding is I'm taking everything out. And for children, put
non-active ingredients is what you're talking about.
Exactly. And even you could find out where, you could even go a step further and ask, where is it derived from? You know, there are some compounding pharmacies that actually give you a tour of their room where they do the compounding, and you can see that. And you can see that's
I'm
clean.
familiar with the compounding process because growing up in India, my father used to own a pharmacy. In addition to his other businesses, he was a partner in that. And very often we went there to play, and then we would be very intrigued by this room where they mix the medicines, and they wouldn't let anybody in there.
No.
Yeah, we had to peek from outside, and so it was so mysterious. But then not all stores that sell medications have those.
No.
So I'm quite aware, but a lot of people here may not know about the compounding pharmacies.
First, ask your primary physician, and if not, Google it and call the companies up, because it's very easy for your physician to send it to the compounding pharmacy or give it to you.
I see.
Some require the doctor fax it in or email it, but some will take you bringing it as well.
But is that such a big thing, that little extra ingredient in that?
Yes, if you're allergic to it, or why put it in if it's a carcinogenic? Especially prenatal vitamins are having carcinogenics in it.
I see.
That's insanity. So we're putting something chemical into this fetus. Or if someone is allergic to one of the ingredients, why is it there? And who would really look at that? It's only if we have an allergy do we go, the extra, or someone's looking at it. I've had so many clients bring in what they're taking, and I'm like, do you know that this has this, this, and that, and there's an alternative here? And I always say, go back and educate inform your doctor, let them know, and then you'll get to see what type of doctor. Is this doctor interested in learning, or they can't be bothered?
Okay. Nancy, can you tell me, if there are any particular new acts under this Obamacare Act, the Healthcare Act? I don't know why we are saying Obamacare, under the new Healthcare Act. Is there anything new now that wasn't there before and that can help people with this?
Well, it's changing all the time, but the FDA always goes back every few years that they say that they want to govern the supplements, and there's a lot of times pharmaceutical companies will say, they want control.
FDA, who really runs the FDA? Who is staffing it? Who is financing it? Would you know?
It's the Federal Drug Administration,
yes.
And lots of time, who knows there's a lot of politics sometimes involved, and lobbyists, and that's why.
Well, I heard that FDA, is actually funded by industry and also staffed by industry.
Right, so you have to, whose point of view? And why would they want to now regulate supplements or alternative medicine? Is it because pharmaceutical companies can't? And then if they did, something that would cost you maybe $10 is now going to cost $50. So that's, it's an unknown.
Well, I would think that alternative medications, if they're not really medicines, if they're just nutritional supplements and food, would that come under the USDA?
Well, they don't regulate it now, but then, herbs, there's a lot of homeopathic, which
if it's considered food, then does it come under the food part, or? No?
That's all changing. It's all, it really, again, it's threatening to change. So alternative practitioners, we always get some petition to sign every 6 months to a few years saying they're threatening to change this and put it under this plan or that plan, or this pharmaceutical company. So that's always possibly changeable. Hopefully not, because you want to be able to get over-the-counter on certain things. Even with over-the-counter, some things are very strong.
But then that is a serious threat to this area where if people want the natural products and they do not want the pharmaceutical industry's products, they should have this choice.
They should. So hopefully the citizens will understand if that change ever comes to be. Same thing, you know, with the props for genetically modified food. Nobody quite, frankly, understood it, and that's why when it was first approached in California, it failed because no one really understood, and the big food companies and even pharmaceutical companies spent $50 million
Yeah, so
in
they
advertising.
convince everyone that it's okay and it's safe.
It's okay, and if you go for this change, it's going to double the price of the food.
So they just
So
scare you, and then
Right.
and so people fell for that,
Yes,
and then ended up with what? Genetically modified foods.
genetically modified foods.
And what has that done to our health?
Yeah, that's affected the health. So there have been studies that show that it does affect you. I mean, it's made in a lab, so it's not made in nature,
Yeah.
and it's injected with a bacterium, so it's resisted by, you know, the crops could grow and the bugs don't eat it, but yet you eat it.
I see.
And it's less nutritious as well.
I'm wondering, other than just healthcare professionals like yourself in the alternative arena, you know, just instead of just you all signing the petitions, is there some place, I mean, how can the general public get involved and join you guys?
Yeah, there are some, you know, so you have to like really, these shows are great, you know, like mainstream media may not be getting the information out, but you're getting the information out. So they got to watch your show, right? And you want to, when you read publications, you want to see, is this just like in Glamour magazine or something that's not written with scientific base? Is it written by a pharmaceutical company? Like, who's the reporter? Who's writing it? And then there are certain times where we can go to the public. So you always want to know when there's a vote going on with a new
See,
prop.
that's what we want to know, when the people would
Right.
know about it.
So the props are usually when there's a voting session.
But
So
how will the public know about it?
Well, you
So
go
they
to
should-
vote in the ballot. You
I
want to see who are you voting for.
I
Is there
see.
a new
I
prop?
see. It'll be there.
Read and again.
And get to know what it is ahead of time and
Ask
form your
questions.
opinions before going in there to
Exactly.
check that box. I see.
Definitely.
That's very interesting. I'm just wondering, because now at least people are more aware of the bad effects of pesticides, environmental toxins, foods, GMOs, you know, GMO foods, and people are really being more knowledgeable and taking things in their own hands, and then trying to get help from you know, folks like yourself.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
thank you, Nancy.
Thank
you very much for coming on this show. It was very, very informative.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed the show, and thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.